What's up guys, I'm back with another Warframe video, and today is the end of the first week of the Prime Resurgence event. We had Mag and Nova Prime released along with their corresponding weapons. Today's video I wanted to highlight a Warframe that took me through a lot of the game and I grinded very hard to acquire, and was one of my early goals in Warframe was getting a vaulted Prime. That was pretty uncommon to see back when I played. Nova had been vaulted for roughly 4 years at the time I was playing, and I managed to grind in trade chat every day until I can get the amount of plat to buy her parts. It was definitely a long grind and definitely very worth it. I remember rushing to my foundry and paying 50 plat to rush the build because I was that excited to get this Prime. Nova Prime holds a very special place in my heart in this game, and it's probably one of the most sentimental Warframes that I have. So first I want to start off with fashion frame. Nova's fashion was probably the one thing that intrigued me the most. I really liked the way she looked, I liked her skins, and even though I don't have any to this day, I do plan on getting some in the future. I really like her Corpora skin and her base Nova Prime skin. There's a lot of good colors and the look of the helmet is just amazing. I love everything about the Warframe and its appearance, and honestly worth picking up to experiment with the fashion. And this is another fashion I used for a bit. It was supposed to be rose gold or like a latte caramel or mocha color, like coffee, and I really liked it for a bit. It was just random armor sets on there. I just put on whatever I had. And I really like what I did with the sigil to fit on one side of her breastplate, and then the other one was already separated by the way her Warframe looked, so I thought it looked pretty cool. Nova's passive is a shockwave every time you're knocked over, but it's pretty underwhelming. Her first ability is Null Star. Null Star gives you particles that give you 5% damage reduction up until 90%. The more duration you have, the more particles you have until that threshold. The particles will seek out enemies nearby, so having less range will keep you more tanky. Her second ability is Antimatter Drop. It's an orb that absorbs damage. The more damage it takes, the more it's going to do in an AoE explosion. Her 3 is just a one-way portal that you send out going forward. Nova's 4 is Molecular Prime. It's a big AoE wave that will prime enemies, slowing or speeding them up depending on your ability strength, causing them to explode whenever they're killed, and the range is affected by your duration mods. With the Augment Molecular Fission, every time you kill an enemy, you will restore 1 charge or 1 particle to your Null Star. Here are the tips they give you. I'm just going to speed it up and you can pause if you want to read them. For my Nova Prime builds, the first configuration I will show you is my Speedva. This build I primarily use in leveling and defense missions where I speed up the enemies and try to make it more fast so I don't have to spend as much time leveling my weapons. My Nova Prime since I've gotten her has never had any Forma, so you don't need Forma to get a pretty much bare bones structure of a build going. You do need a potato, however, or an Orkin reactor to double the mod capacity. Pretty much in this build, your objective is to get the strength all the way down as low as you can. The less strength you have, the more the enemies will be sped up.
Tenno, the balance of power continues to shift.
The duration will allow your 4th ability, Molecular Prime, to spread out longer and stay up as long as possible so that more and more enemies can get speed boosted and that the mission goes by faster. My second configuration is Slova. Slova is just the opposite of Speedva, where you go for duration and strength, and you try to build it as much as you can so that you can slow the enemies down so that they do less damage because they can't fire as much, and you can keep it up as long as possible so that more enemies are slowed. Usually you would want to use this in missions where it is a timed objective and you cannot rush it no matter what, like mobile defense, excavation, etc. On both these builds, I highly recommend you take Molecular Fission, which is an augment you can get from the factions or the syndicates. It will help your survivability immensely as you can prime all the enemies with your 4, and you can keep your 90% damage reduction buff up as long as possible. I also have Synth Reflex on both the builds just because I like to have my weapon reload and I switch weapons a lot, but honestly those are option slots, so you do have a lot of build variety you can go with, or some mods that you want for comfort you can swap out. Here I go into Steel Path and just demonstrate the mobile defense aspect. The time will run down at the same speed, 1 minute and 12 seconds. I did accidentally take the wrong weapons. I was just showcasing what was in the Prime Resurgence with Soma, Lex, and Docker Prime. So here you could see me struggling to kill the enemies. But I do take a lot of damage, and I am able to hold my own for a bit. Unfortunately, I can't kill them fast enough, but this lets you know that Nova can take a bit of a beating. She isn't the tankiest frame, definitely not by a long shot, but she can hold her own with the right build and synergies. And this turret will always mess you up no matter what. Like, if they get on this turret, they just melt you somehow. So here I am in the same mission. I have a different primary. I'm using the Kuva Chakor, or Chakra, however you want to say it. For Nova's synergies, honestly, you can go with AoE or single target weapons. I would go for AoE just because she has explosions all around her and she could just destroy a bunch of enemies at one time. There's just explosions everywhere. Single target weapons aren't that bad either because you get that damage multiplier when they're primed, and if you can one-shot them or take them out really quick, you could restore your null holy shit. You could restore your null charges and kill the enemies in like one shot or whatever. And her 4 kind of already gives you built-in AoE to work with anyway. Here I am in Arbitration. The enemies start out at level 60-ish and they go up progressively the longer you stay. This was Interception, which I am on my Slova because Speedva wouldn't really matter. You can go neutral Nova, which is when you balance it out perfectly and they're not sped up or slow down, they still will get that damage vulnerability. And that goes for Speedva as well. Just because you have less ability strength does not mean they're not vulnerable to damage anymore. So here I decided to go into a defense to showcase the Speedva. The enemies are sped up and they take more damage, and I still have molecular fission on so I can keep my damage reduction up because they're all primed anyway, so I might as well get that defensive buff. We ended up clearing the second wave in 45 seconds, and I did not know the Aphrodite had these weird passives and alt fires. It kind of scared me. In all, Nova is a great frame. She has a lot of variations to her build, and you can build her in a variety of ways and use her in a variety of missions. She's an amazing frame. I love her very, very much from a sentimental standpoint. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate the support and feedback. I have a Discord you can join where other people play Warframe as well. Although it hasn't been quite active lately because I am working a full-time job, you can still pop in and interact with the other people who still play Warframe. And I'm halfway to 1,000 subscribers. That is my next milestone goal. And any video ideas for that, you can put in the comments. You guys are amazing. You guys kill it every time, and tenno out.